So I'm going to show you how to do a fairly rough but effective chat conversation using Animate CC. So what we're going to try to do is to make the text appear as though this speech bubble pops up first and then the second one comes along after. So what I'm going to do is to clear the stage and we'll start from scratch. First of all, I'm just using a brush tool with a thin black brush, as you can see, and I'm going to draw out our first chat bubble on the left. Now, what I'll do here is give it 5 frames. So we're going to go F6 to create a new keyframe. And here is where the dot's appearing as though a message is being written. So we'll go there, and then frame 7. I use the shortcut F6 a lot. I'm kind of going 2 frames across each time. And we now have our 3 dots. If we play that back, you'll see the dots occurring in the timeline. And then at 15, F6 again, I'm going to just use my pointer tool to select and delete those dots. And now I'll start to type my first letter. You can either do this freehand, which I am going to do for one of the 2 examples, or you can use the text tool. So I will stick with a freehand example here. I'll go up a bit in my brush size though, and type in the first letter. So we've got our dots and the H is coming up. And I'm randomly choosing to go a few frames across. F6 again. And now F6 for an exclamation mark at the end. Let's go back to frame 1 and press enter. So that works quite well. Now I'm going to allow a bit of response time from the other side. So let's jump across to maybe frame 35. And here we'll go F6 again. So here we're going to go back to a fine brush and we will place the second speech bubble over here. We'll also create a few frames distance before we start adding in the dots here. So here's our first, F6 again, second, 2 frames along, F6 again, third dot. Now we'll go out about 5 frames before our next keyframe, and here again I will be clicking and deleting those brush lines. Going back to our thicker brush this time, this is going to be the first letter. 2 frames along, F6 for a new keyframe, 2 frames long, final keyframe there. What I'll now do is give ourselves about 10 frames so that we have time to see that conversation happening. F6 for our final keyframe here. Let's rewind and press play. So all we've done here is simply draw and create keyframes. It looks natural, and I believe all good animations should have that drawn quality to them. A second example, if I go a few steps back on this side here, is to use the text tool itself. So what we'll do here is to create a whole word, draw out the word. Using the text tool, let's increase the size and let's center that within the bubble. And now what we want to do is to reveal the letters one at a time. So I'm going to give ourselves about 10 frames here for the animation. F5 this time to extend the number of frames. And we're going to use a very simple masking technique. So I'm going to click where the text appears, F6, creating a new keyframe here. Let's call this layer text mask. To mask the text, I'm simply going to draw out a white rectangle, which is going to match the speech bubble color. So you can see if I turn that mask layer on and off, the text is becoming visible and invisible. Now what we need to do is to convert our rectangle into a symbol so that we can move it in the timeline. So I'll go modify, convert to symbol, and I'll just call it text mask. If we were to right click and create a motion tween here, then all we really need to do is to move our mask around and it will reveal the text letters one at a time. Again, this is a very simple way of working and it will allow you to work quite quickly. You'll notice that the box shifts across. So with a simple transformation, we can flatten the width of that as well. So what I'll do here is go into our transform tool and I'll just pinch in the width. As it comes across here, it's again taking out the side of our speech bubble so we can continue to adjust our mask as we go. So if we watch it back, we have a hand-drawn versus a more tweened version of animated text.